woman who left a trail of broken men. Jessica was a woman who did just that. She did obsessing on how life should treat her. She made people obsess about her. She betrayed at every corner of life that you can. And by doing all of this, it led to tragedy. There are some people who walk into your life and leave it better than they found it. And then there are those who leave destruction behind them. Broken trust, broken friendships, broken families, and sometimes broken lives. This is the story of Gary, a man who spent most of his life avoiding drama, and Jessica, a woman whose relationships seemed to leave chaos everywhere she went. What began as an ordinary workplace romance would eventually spiral into betrayal, manipulation, and heartbreak. And this brought a tragedy that no one saw coming. Gary was a man who lived alone. Gary, he wasn't a lonely man. He simply preferred solitude. While most people filled their lives with constant social interaction, Gary found peace. Found peace in being by himself. He enjoyed hiking alone. He preferred eating at restaurants during quiet hours. And he worked in a warehouse where he spent most of his days in his own section, away from office politics and workplace gossip. Every morning he would clock in at 6:30 a.m. Every evening he left at 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. The routine rarely changed, and he liked it that way. Outside of work, Gary stayed active. He built a home gym in his garage, and he would exercise regularly. He took good care of himself. He was simple like that. His life was simple, predictable, and peaceful. That is, until Jessica arrived. You see, Jessica was hired to work at the front desk. At first, Gary paid little attention to her. She was simply just another employee. But before long, Jessica started paying attention to Gary. She found reasons to stop by his area. She would strike up conversations, ask him questions. She was showing interest. And eventually, the two began dating. Jessica seemed different from anyone Gary had ever known. She openly discussed her struggles with addiction and explained that she had been sober for 4 years. 3 nights a week, every week, she attended Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. Recovery was a major part of her life. There was also another person connected to those meetings, a man named Sean. Jessica described Sean as an ex-boyfriend. The relationship was over, so she said. It's ancient history. There is nothing to worry about. And so Gary accepted her explanation. He had no reason not to. 4 months later, Jessica moved into Gary's home. and for a while, everything seemed normal. But then, the cracks began to appear. Not long after moving in, Jessica quit her job at the warehouse, and now Gary was paying the bills alone. This didn't bother Gary. He didn't complain. He cared about her. If she needed support, he was willing to provide it. But something changed. Jessica became distant, cold, and emotionally unavailable. One afternoon, Gary's best friend Carl and Carl's wife Allie joined them for a day at the park. What happened there would stay with Allie. For nearly 6 hours, Jessica barely acknowledged her existence. There was no conversation, no effort at all to connect. Nothing. Later, Allie told her husband something felt wrong. She couldn't explain it. She simply found Jessica's behavior strange. Gary listened, but he brushed it aside. He believed relationships went through rough patches. Still, Jessica's behavior continued to worsen. Her AA meetings became more frequent. 3 nights a week would turn into 5 nights and then 6 nights a week. In fact, whenever Gary asked if something was wrong, the answers were vague. And for the first time, he began to wonder. There was something she wasn't telling me. And so one morning, Gary made a decision. Instead of staying at work all day, he planned to leave early. If nothing was wrong, he would feel foolish, but if something was wrong, he needed to know. And so around lunchtime, he headed home. And as he approached his driveway, something immediately caught his attention. There was another vehicle parked in his driveway, a landscaping truck with the name on the side that said Sean's Landscaping. Gary felt his stomach drop. Sean, he thought. That's the name of Jessica's ex. The man he supposedly had nothing to worry about. Quietly, Gary entered the house. He doesn't have an alarm system, so there were no sounds, no warning. And as he walked towards the bedroom, he then opened the door. And there they were, Jessica and Sean, in bed together. The moment froze in silence. There were no explanations, and there were no desperate attempts to deny what was happening. In fact, there were no even tears coming from Jessica, not a one. And according to Gary, Jessica seemed more surprised that he came home and less embarrassed that she was caught. And Sean, he just calmly got dressed, almost too calmly, as if this wasn't the first time, as if he knew exactly where everything was, because he just jumped up and went into the bathroom, just like it looked like he'd done this several times before. Gary was lost for words. He said very little. But some betrayals don't require an argument. Sometimes they speak for themselves. He simply told Jessica to pack up her belongings and leave. The relationship was over. or at least Gary thought it was. After leaving Gary, Jessica began reaching out. She wanted another chance, but Gary refused. Eventually, he changed his phone number. For him, the chapter of Jessica was closed. But Jessica quickly found someone else. His name was Brian. And Brian wasn't just another man. He actually is one of the good and close friends of Gary's. He's a co-worker, someone Gary cared about. You see, Brian had battled addiction himself, and this quickly connected Jessica because they shared experiences. Now at work, Gary warned him. He told him about Sean, about the cheating, about everything that happened. But Brian didn't listen. In fact, the warning offended him. He believed his relationship with Jessica was different, special, and more meaningful. Their friendship suffered because of this, and eventually they stopped speaking altogether. Then one evening, Brian appeared at Gary's door. He looked exhausted, worried. Almost desperation showed on his face. Jessica had moved in with him, but lately she had become distant, gone almost every night, always claiming she was attending meetings. The story sounded familiar. In fact, it sounded too familiar. Brian decided to investigate. Using public records, he located Sean's address, and so then he decided to drive there. And what he saw confirmed his worst fears. Jessica came out of Sean's home, hand in hand with Sean. The same Sean, the same pattern, and the same betrayal. Sean and Jessica were driving down the road, and they got as close to Brian's home, maybe a block away before he dropped her off, as if this is the ritual and the routine, almost as if they were trying to hide the relationship, as if she planned to walk inside and tell Brian she'd been at another meeting. The illusion was shattered because Brian, he knew the truth from looking at the past of what happened to Gary, and he took it harder than anyone else realized. Because a few days later, Brian stopped showing up for work. Nobody had heard from him, and the warehouse supervisor eventually asked Gary to check on him. He knew they were close, so Gary drove to Brian's house. But Brian wasn't there. Instead, he found Brian's parents standing outside, and the news was devastating. You see, Brian was dead. He had overdosed on heroin. His family explained that he had left behind a note. He left behind a note that didn't blame anyone. It didn't even mention Jessica or what he'd seen before that time he took his life or overdosed. However way you would want to make sense of that. But simply it suggested that someone had hurt him so deeply that he could no longer cope with the pain. But it didn't mention Jessica. And whether Jessica's betrayal directly caused Brian's death is something nobody can truly know. But according to his family, discovering the truth of whatever that letter had devastated him enough to do this. Gary, just besides the parents, stood there stunned. A friendship had ended. A life had ended. And a family was left searching for answers. And what happened next left Gary even more speechless, because Jessica arrived at Brian's family's home as well. She already knew Brian was dead. And according to those present, she immediately became the grieving girlfriend. She cried, she spoke of love, talked about marriage, and described Brian as the love of her life. Brian's parents were moved by this. Heartbroken people often want someone to share their grief with, and Jessica stepped in to that role perfectly. They comforted her. They even invited her to the upcoming Thanksgiving. They told her she would always be family. Gary would listen from a distance, not saying nothing, just watching. Several weeks later, Gary received an unexpected phone call. It was a gentleman by the name of Todd. Todd is Brian's older brother, and he had a question for Gary. Gary, he said, do you know how to contact Jessica? You see, because it was after Thanksgiving now, and after Thanksgiving, Jessica had stayed with the family, and during that time, Todd and Jessica had become involved, romantically involved, because she was in mourning and discomfort and pain. And so they became close, and then she just disappeared. No calls, no messages, no explanation. Gary couldn't help but notice the pattern. One relationship ended, another began, then another, and another. The faces have changed, but the outcome still remains the same. And as time would pass by, a year to be exact, word would spread around town. Word about Jessica. Jessica was now pregnant, and the father was the man she could never really have, that she cheated on everybody with, Sean. The same Sean who had drifted through the story from the very beginning. Yet, according to those who know Sean, Sean still had no intention, even though she was pregnant, of settling down. No intention of becoming the committed partner Jessica appeared to want. If that was true, then even after years of chasing him, she still hadn't gotten what she was looking for. So ask yourself, place it in the comments. Who is the victim? Who is the villain? Is there a hero? Because sometimes the truth lives somewhere in the middle there. But looking back on everything that happened, one fact remains undeniable. Every person that connected to Jessica seemed to leave the relationship carrying some form of scars. Gary and his identity lost trust. Brian lost hope. A family lost a son. And there were countless questions that were left unanswered. And today, Jessica is reportedly raising a child. Perhaps life has changed. Or perhaps it hasn't. Only she knows the answer. But for those who lived through this story, one question still lingers. Was Jessica simply searching for love? Or was she searching for attention? No matter the cost, you decide. Thanks for listening to the Greg Stewart Show.